Welcome to the past, where you'll get information related to sports, video games, technology, music, and our all-time favorite ass of the week. Episode 156 of The Past is here. Your host BT back with yet another episode. As always, doing them at the crib, chilling, keeping it simple, keeping it light. We'll go ahead and get into the meaning of the angel number 156, and then we'll get into our topics and just kind of break some things down. The angel number 156 meaning comprises of numbers 1, 5, and 6. Number 1 represents your leadership qualities and your ability to achieve anything you set out to do. You are strong-willed, and your go-getter attitude will lead you to greater heights of success in the near future. This number also symbolizes the new doors that are going to be opened before you. You will be thrust into new realms of activity and experiences. Your tenacity and perseverance will determine your victory at the end of each experience. Be ready for drastic changes to take place in your life. Angel number 5 is symbolic of your creative, spontaneous, and resourceful capabilities. You will discover that bliss there is in living in the moment. Do not let bleak experiences dampen your lively personality. Choose to remain positive through it all. Chance favors readiness and willingness to adapt. Don't be rigid. Avoid hanging on to past experiences, mistakes, successes, or even acquaintances that bring you down. You must allow yourself to be light enough for the wave of change to raise you to another level. Maintain the company of people who see the good in you and encourage you to be the best you can. Be ready to stand your ground and make difficult decisions that will determine your life path. Angel number 6 stands for all the material wants and needs that you may have. Your desires to provide for your family with a stable home, meet all their needs, and create a balanced environment for them are captured here. This number also represents selflessness, your level of reliability and responsibility. With angel number 156, your angels promise that your material needs will be met as you set forth to accomplish the mission of your soul. Love doing these because I will admit, it normally just kind of seems as though we'll just kind of jump right into a show and just kind of kick a topic off and keep it going. But instead, it's beneficial to do this because then it kind of gives you a number or motivation or something to drive you a little bit and just kind of getting through your life and your routine. Because nobody's life is perfect. Things happen. We go through situations, and they emphasize this in talking about with the number 5. We hold on to things and we get stuck in that moment and we don't want to move forward. So sometimes that causes us to somewhat become stagnant. And I'm going to share something else because I did have this as a motivational message I sent it to my friends and I put it as my status on my personal Instagram, but I'll share it with you all. And it was a message from the daily readings that I'm doing within my Bible app that I have been putting off for a while. I stopped back in February and didn't expect it to kind of hit the way it did. But sometimes if a message comes, you got to take it for what it is. The name of the Bible plan is called Presence Carriers. And it was on day 5. It's a 7-day plan. But they gave in a narration of the devotional, it said, if things have become stale for you, move your position, change your routine, be excited about moving forward in the unknown of the purpose of God for you. So basically, to kind of summarize that in a nutshell, a lot of times by nature we'll look at and we kind of hear the whole phrase of they that wait, be still, things of that sort. But on the same token, there are moments and there are times that you have to make moves. And with movement and activity happening, that leads to other things coming. And you have to sometimes be in the right place in order for that to come. And being in the right place isn't going to occur if you're just standing still or just waiting for something to happen. So as I mentioned, this is in reading the angel number. This is episode 156. The episodes are uploaded each week to Spreaker.com. If you are looking to get into podcasts, and Spreaker.com is has been my go-to. There are other resources, as I say, each week. And recording in the sound and the voice that you're hearing, that is thanks to the Blue Yeti microphone. I've used the Blue Yeti for over a year. I have no issues with it at all. If you're looking to, and I'll state this because I do want people to understand this because I never mention this. If you're looking to podcast and you want to use a mixer, do not get the Blue Yeti itself. You'll want to get the Blue Yeti Pro because you'll want the option to have the USB and the XLR option. That way you're not cutting yourself short. I'm going to promote this now because I want to make sure I get this out of the way. If you are a subscriber or you do listen to my shows in different avenues, if you have iTunes, I would appreciate it if you go and give a subscribe or a like or review. Any information, any input or feedback is what makes the show better. Not just for me as a recorder, but for you all as listeners. So I wanted to, before, as I always do, I like to give shout outs to a couple businesses. Before I do that, I left this out last week and I wanted to stick to my word. Last week was a very heavy week. It was, and I'm y'all know I try to be as transparent as I can because I did talk about it in the podcast every day in April last year. But this year actually marks the 10-year anniversary of my sister passing. It was actually on last Tuesday. I didn't record on Tuesday. I think I went to the dentist, and afterward I just was not 100%. So it was better for me to record on a day that would work, which was the following day. I noticed I changed the format, but by me changing the format, I left this part out. So I want to make sure I emphasize, if you are if you get into a situation or something happens and you need help or need assistance, definitely contact or reach out to the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-SAFE or 1-800-799-7233. And you can also go to www.thehotline.org. I share the link in the show notes, but if you go to the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence, they have a lot of resources, a lot of information, as well as stats and facts on domestic violence and how it's not just something that's talked about, but it is a real thing. To tie into my next point, and I know I'm kind of segueing a little bit, not rushing through the show, but just kind of getting some things out of the way now. I realized after recording it the way I did, I didn't like the format for it, so I'm going to do it different this time around. I'm going to do all of my businesses at the beginning, sports main chore, stuff in the mid, do our music spotlight, and then ads of the week at the end. Because I realized trying to blend everything in and put each business within, I did it fine in that regard, but then I left stuff off and it didn't feel right. And these, I mentioned them as sponsors, but these are basically businesses who, I've supported or I personally recommend you all to check out. So, I'm giving a lot more information than normal. But if you are looking to get some good Southern home cooked meals, A Taste of Heaven RVA, they're located in 10101 Brook Road. I don't know why. Let me wake up. 10101 Brook Road in Glen Allen, Virginia, 23059. It is done with Renetta Winston and Jarvis Green, as well as Charlene Saunders. She's the main one who gets you good to go with the Caribbean foods. When you go to the mall to check out her options, she will have a menu to tell you what the specials are that she got going on. And you get there, if you want to wait, if you're in a rush, you do have the option of calling in advance. The number is 804-266-2509. You can also shoot an email to atasteofheavenrva@gmail.com. So I want to make sure I, promote that business or promote her business because she definitely has been doing nothing but great things in the city. Also, if you're looking to get your home clean or get any type of cleaning work completed, a friend of mine, her name is Sherry Winston. Her business is called Peachy Clean RVA LLC. She's a cleaning specialist working in residential and commercial cleaning. Her phone number for the business is 804-726-0366. Or you can shoot an email to peachycleanrva@gmail.com. And I also want to emphasize before you look for it, to be sure to spell it Peachie, not Peachy, because if you look for it with the Y, you're not going to find it. So Peachie, Clean RVA LLC. She does have a Facebook page, and that is in the show notes. She also has Instagram for the business as well, if you were looking to check it out in that regard. I definitely want to support and show props in that magnitude. Finally, I have a friend of mine who is in Illinois. Her name is Jaleesa Wilkins. She does bartender. She's a bartender. She's a mixologist, and she has sweets, cupcakes, cake pops, things of that nature. I don't need any of it because I'm trying to lose weight, but hey, it is what it is. But if you're in the Illinois area, 630-866-6557. You can contact her for either of those options between the bartender or mixologist option or for the sweets. If you're looking to get to email her for bartender mixologist, it's mixologist.jw@gmail.com. And for the cupcakes option, it is Munchkins Dessert, that's with 2 S's, @gmail.com. And I have that. If you go to my Instagram page on past podcasts, you'll see the image that shows the business itself and that information. So 11 minutes was a world record to get all of that in and make sure we didn't leave anybody or any business behind. But I wanted to be sure that I give my proper startup in reference to that to get the ball rolling for this week's show. Now, I initially was not expecting to have that much of a show, and I'm only saying that because things did happen in the sports world and in the tech world, but then the past couple of days kind of hit, and today happened, and there were some news and there were some things that kind of came about, so I'm going to give them attention. Some of them may be kind of a brief, I won't say read at your own disclosure because I don't want to do that, but it'll kind of be me paraphrasing in a sense of what was stated during specific conversations or occurrences that happened. So we'll go ahead and hop into it. First and foremost, if you were one of the, I believe it was 300, I don't have the exact amount, I think it was 330 people, or 300, it was less than 400 people who got Loyola, Chicago, Michigan, Villanova, and Kansas in the Final Four, I give you props. I don't even know where to begin with this bracket or with this whole run. First and foremost, I'm going to kind of, as I do each time, we break down each section, and then I'm going to make my bold predictions, which should be very fun. And I have a bit of an add-on story with this because I did get some news, so I want to make sure that I don't leave that out as well. First and foremost, Kansas and Kentucky. For some reason, I feel as though Kentucky didn't take Kansas State serious, and it showed. So that caused and helped Kansas State advance. The Nevada and Loyola Chicago game was a good game. I will admit that with a straight face. The Twins who play for Nevada are dominant. They're good. I'm hoping if it's not their year to go, I hope when they go to the NBA that they make a big mark on the NBA. Because I feel like even though people don't talk about them, the Morris brothers have made an impact in the NBA. You hear about them, and it's even more ironic hearing about them, especially with them being on separate teams. So I like what they did with Nevada, but they advanced. And then between Kansas State and Loyola, Chicago, it was Loyola from the beginning. Loyola came with the noise and the pain, and they let it be known that they were there not just to prove that they were a quote-unquote Cinderella team. They were actually there to play basketball. And that's, as a fan of the game, that's what you want to see. So in that regard and in that sense, I have no problem with how it all went. The sister, I can't think of her name. I'm ready to call her Sister Jean, but I don't think that's her name. But she did give permission as far as for the use and the likeness of her name to be on any merchandise or paraphernalia. And I thought that was big because, a lot of times they'll just do it and not tell you, and just all of a sudden money's being made and you don't even know it. So that I give a lot of props to her for that. Gonzaga's show ended a little early. I'm surprised, but I'm not surprised because Gonzaga really didn't have as good of a core team coming in this year. I mean, granted they were a 4 seed, but in the Western bracket, it just, I don't know. It's one of those things where it's a true statement of the better team showed up, and surely enough, Florida State was the better team. They had a tough match on their hands with Michigan, who dominated Texas A&M. I believe it's kind of been forecasted, but I wouldn't be surprised if Robert Williams does declare to go pro, which there's no reason for him not to. I think the announcement has been made, but I'm not sure. I don't recall it being made, but in the event that it does, don't be alarmed or surprised by that story. So Florida State then went on to play Michigan. Very close game. I actually was out at a bar when that came on, and I was watching it, in spurts. And Michigan, they did their job. It was a guy who was there who was a diehard Michigan fan. He pretty much made it clear he was going for Michigan, obviously with a hat on. So all I told him was just finish the job. Don't go to the Final Four, and then you get to the first game and y'all can't beat Loyola Chicago. So Loyola, of course, is the only double-digit seed in the Final Four, or that's in the tournament that's remaining. Obviously, on the opposite side of the bracket for the East, Villanova kind of had his work cut out for him. They slaughtered West Virginia, which I can't really say it's a I'm surprised, I'm not surprised type of thing, because it was Villanova. Villanova always is going to bring a good team, and West Virginia did their part. West Virginia played a good game, but it just was, it's Villanova. And then with Texas Tech and Purdue was without one of their big scorers. So without him on the floor, it showed. And Villanova then went on and beat Texas Tech by 22. They beat it by 12. Work on math. We'll get there one day. And then for the Midwest, you have Kansas and Clemson. Kansas, it was a close game, but Kansas did pull off the victory. Syracuse, their run ended. Anytime you see Syracuse and Duke go at it, you always are guaranteed for a good matchup. And in this case, there was no exception to that. But Duke was the victor, which led to a very, very strong 1-2 matchup between Kansas and Duke. And they literally, when they say the bluegrass or the battle of the blues, it was definitely a battle of the blues. Duke had its moments. It was just in there in the favor of Kansas. And then on top of that, Kansas has what very few teams right now really have, and that's a true shooter. And Malik Newman, say what you want about him, I'm hoping he stays another year, but I see him he's going to be kind of the make or break of the tournament, in my opinion. Azubuike did his part. Trevor Graham, I feel, and I think I mentioned this on the podcast at some point, I feel bad for him because he's in the Frank Mason 2.0 stage where he's a good guard or a good basketball player. It has a chance of translating to the NBA, but the NBA doesn't want you or isn't willing to look at you if you're in that I went to school for 4 years category, because they want you to be on the, you're looking to leave in a year, we can give you this money. We're not knocking education, but we would rather you, make a chance and come into the league and hopefully kind of fill your spot. There haven't been, as far as I'm aware, there haven't been any big names, at least with Duke, obviously. I wouldn't be surprised if Bagley's gone. Duvall would probably leave. Wendell Carter will definitely leave with the FBI investigation that went on. So don't be surprised or alarmed by any of that. I believe we talked about it last week. Trae Young did declare. Colin Sexton has not made his announcement yet of declaring, but I could see that happening within the next week. I just got an announcement that Kevin Roach, I believe, from Texas, he declared he's going in without an agent, so that's kind of in his best interest. We'll get into another declaree in a moment. But to make my picks for the Final Four, I'm going to surprise a lot of people because I feel like the run hasn't stopped this long. I feel like Loyola Chicago will beat Michigan. Michigan's a good team. They have depth, but I feel like Loyola Michigan their adrenaline is gonna be what gets them into the championship game. Now on the other side, you're kind of in a no-win situation because Villanova is one of the best teams in college basketball. And it's what's ironic about it this year, if you look at UVA being knocked off as early as they did, Xavier really wasn't a big name to look at. And then if you look at your 2 seeds, you're carrying Cincinnati, North Carolina, Purdue, and Duke. After that, you look at those teams and you kind of break down numbers and who did what. As far as a solid, there was never a point where we really could look at the league and say, oh, we have a solid consensus number 1 team in college basketball. But with us looking at it right now with Final Four a couple of days away, I would personally go on a limb in saying that Villanova is the best team. Now, the spinoff is, can Villanova, being the best team in college basketball, actually beat Kansas? I'm going to be probably devil's advocate and the bad guy again by saying no. I feel like Kansas can win this game. I'm going to say Kansas is going to beat Villanova. Loyola Chicago is going to beat Michigan. And Kansas is going to win their first championship since Mario Chalmers was there. So just let it be what it is. Don't take it personal. And as we know, I'm not the best when it comes to picking. So my picks can be just as irrelevant as anyone else's. So I just wanted to at least get that in there and kind of get that mix into play. For the record, because I do always like to make sure I don't forget, Kentucky did lose. So that, of course, leads to our famous question, who's leaving, who's staying? I don't know if I said this already. I think Kevin Knox is gone. PJ Washington is gone. PJ should stay based on how horribly he shot free throws against Kansas State. That's just my opinion. Let me see who else I'm delving into without being too aggressive in my approach. I think Gabriel is going to stay another year. Sasha's going to stay another year. If he goes this year, he's not really projected to be a very high pick. But that, of course, like anything, it doesn't stop players from trying to go. So we'll just keep our eyes on this and kind of see where it lands and what ends up happening. But I wanted to at least bring that to the attention because that is always the conversation, especially with Kentucky playing the way they have, and then also we're a few days away from the McDonald's All-American game. A couple of guys who are going to Kentucky are in that game. Surprised Tyler Hero didn't make it, but I also know it was a lot of fuss because Sharif O'Neal didn't make it. So there's that factor as well. So now we're going to go ahead and jump into the American football or the league known as the Alliance of American Football is going to be commenced. And I feel bad because this story kind of broke and was talked about a little bit last week, but by the time it hit and news happened about it, I really wasn't able to give it the attention it deserved. So we'll go ahead and give it its own window in its own space because we are here. So I'm sitting there making noise without making noise. The XFL, and my nose wants to sneeze, and if it does, oh well. The XFL, the controversial football league founded by Vince McMahon in 1999 that lasted one season, is set to return in 2020. But it won't be the only new professional football league, or even the first to begin play. Charlie Ebersol, the son of NBC executive Dick Ebersol, McMahon's partner during the XFL's first stint, announced in a press release that the Alliance of American Football will debut on February 9th, 2019 on CBS. The younger Ebersol, who directed ESPN's 30 for 30 documentary on the XFL brought in former NFL general manager Bill Polian to help oversee the league. Former Steelers safety Troy Polamalu will oversee the player side, and former USC standout and executive J.K. McKay will oversee the team side. Advisors include former players Hines Ward and Justin Tuck and Dick Ebersol. The Alliance of American Football represents a fundamental shift in the way we approach professional sports, Charlie Ebersol said. We believe fans and players are what's most important, so our approach is simple. We've created an alliance where fans and players share in the success of their teams. Players have our commitment that we will seek the highest degree of safety and support, and our support as we continue to invest in their success off the field with post-football career scholarships and financial wellness programs. With the expertise of Bill Polian and a leadership team of respected former all-pro players and executives, we are committed to putting the best football product possible on the field every weekend, ensuring that 2018 will be the final year fans have to experience a 6-month period without football. The plan, like the XFL, is to stock the league with players who don't make it onto NFL rosters. There's a significant amount of football talent looking to begin or extend their professional careers. This is Bill Polian speaking. The Alliance will provide those players with a new opportunity to compete at a high level. Our players and fans are the lifeblood of the Alliance, and we will treat them as such. We will give players an opportunity to flourish on the field while establishing plans to support their personal and professional growth, health, safety, and financial well-being. This is our commitment to them and will result in an exciting pro football product on the field that fans across the nation and in our markets can rally around. CBS will air the league's debut game on February 9th, 2019, 1 week after the Super Bowl 53 on CBS. Talk about irony, because we'll get into that in a moment. The network will also carry the Alliance of American Football's championship game on the final weekend of April 2019. One regular season Alliance game will air exclusively on CBS Network each week as well. As the Alliance of American Football launches next February, we are excited to become the official television partner, adding more football to our robust programming lineup with a great package that includes 2 primetime games on CBS, as well as a full slate of regular season spring football on CBS Sports Network. This is from Sean McManus with CBS Sports. With Charlie Ebersol and Bill Polian at the helm, we are confident that the product they will deliver will be entertaining, exciting, engaging, and something that fans will enjoy. The league will have 8 teams and cities to be announced in the next 3 months. Rosters will have 50 players each and will be built primarily through a regionally based draft. To differentiate the Alliance of American Football from its competitors, there will be no TV timeouts and 60% fewer commercials. Other differences will include no kickoffs, and instead of onside kicks, the trailing team will receive the ball on their own 35-yard facing 4th down and 10. There will also be a 30-second play clock and mandatory 2-point conversion attempts after touchdowns. All right, so reading the last part, that just confirmed there will be no kickers. And from what I'm gathering, I'm assuming there are going to be no punters. So 4th and whatever, you got to go for it. A lot of information to digest here. So let's analyze this for a second. XFL came out in 1999. 1 season, trash, fell apart. McMahon decides, hey, I want to resurrect my league, see if I can try this again. I learned from my mistakes. I mean, it's only been, 20 years? Yeah, 20 years to learn from it, which is understandable. I'm not knocking or taking away from that portion of it at all. They're trying to, now the Alliance, as far as with the Alliance of American Football, now I know I'm saying it like I'm dyslexic or slow, but I really have to get used to saying it because it makes the NFL, like National Football League, sound like Alliance of American Football. Like I get it. You're trying to compete and you want to stand out, and then they're on CBS. This is a smart move for CBS, and it was just presented. Super Bowl next year comes on February the 2nd of 2019. They're going to start their season the following week. So it's not like, okay, we don't get no football. It kind of is a way of fans getting that fix or that urgency of being a fan of the sport. I have no problem with that. And this is it's probably going to say, well, okay, you don't have a problem with anything. What do you have a problem with? I personally don't have an issue with this at all. I like when a league is bringing something that's different from what we all know and are used to. Going back to, and the announcement was made, and I haven't, I'm not going to put a tab for it, but I'll go ahead and briefly give it attention because it is coming. The league for LeVar Ball, who's making, as far as wanting to do something to give kids who come out of high school an opportunity to play basketball that may not be able to or want to go to a college. That's got to go. It has been given a green light. The website is up. People have been filling out applications. There's so many people who applied. The site shut down. They were able to get it fixed. I did go to it today. You actually can go in. It's like a little pop-up box, and you put in all your information, and I guess you hear back. I'm not sure how it works. I'm curious because I want to see if anyone who actually is recruiting or wanting to be recruited for that, how do they get response? Do they get a call? Things of that nature. Jumping back to this story, they're doing a draft, which it's almost like you're doing an expansion draft, but it's kind of going to be like a free agency, free for all, because it's going to be players who are looking to get into the league, players who are coming out of college, things of that nature, who are going to be trying to go for this opportunity. It draws a lot of questions though, because let's say you play in this league, the league ends in April, and you're a rookie. I mean, I ain't gonna say you're a rookie, but you played in this league, but you have no NFL eligibility, but you want to go into the NFL. Can you play in the Alliance League and play in the NFL, like in the same year? I'm wondering about that. The fact that they did get Bill Polian is good. I have no conflict with that. I'm hoping. I think more than anything, what I'm looking for is, as long as they're learning from what mistakes were made with the XFL. Now, if the XFL improved on what they did wrong in 1999, I'm all for it. I'm still gonna give it its chance. The part of it that I think will be interesting is having no TV timeouts. If I know CBS, that's not necessarily true. I'm gonna say this and then I'm gonna go on to the next topic. Anyone who watched football this year, even watching the Super Bowl, because if I remember correctly, no, I take that back. CBS didn't have the Super Bowl. NBC did, because we had I can't think of his name. Chris Collinsworth was going for New England as hard as he could, but we digress. CBS is known to do, and they even did this with Thursday night before, when the NFL Network was running it, and with CBS picking it up. They would say, and now a word from our sponsor. So it's basically, we're not going to put a TV, like we're not going to have actual timeouts. They're basically going to have commercials kind of be, like you'll see what's going on the field and like get the interludes and all that jazz. But you're still going to be getting a commercial or sponsor. Like saying that there's no TV timeouts, or, I guess I'm looking at it like this. Do the teams still get physical, like actual timeouts? Like, if they need to call a timeout for clock management? Like, it's parts of it that we still need to learn and see and understand, like, what the end result will be for it. Like I said, no kickoffs and no onside kicks. Like I said, kickers, you would have to find that profession in the NFL. So there's that story and that run with the Alliance League. That's the best way I can call it. So this story came up near the end of last week. Probably, I want to say, I feel like Wednesday or Thursday they talked about this story, but they didn't give like a solid what the end result would be regarding this. But now we finally have our answer in regards to the infamous chaos in the NFL known as a catch. because everyone wants to figure out when you catch the ball, what's considered a play, what's considered down, what's considered the ball dropping, things of that nature. The NFL actually got a 32-0 vote on this, and this story broke today, so I'm sharing this as a boom. This story is here, but the NFL has reached a new catch rule, or approved a new catch rule, to avoid a handful of controversies that had been presented over the past decade. Owners also approved 2 other rule changes. Granting authority to Senior Vice President of Officiating Al Riveron to eject players for non-football acts, even if it means overruling on-field referees, and making permanent a temporary rule that put touchbacks after kickoffs at the 25-yard line. They've been in limbo about that too for a while. Michael Signora, NFL Vice President of Football Communications, tweeted out the approved rules and bylaws. So we have let's see, I want to make sure, because I want to find the actual catch rule itself, because someone did post it specifically. Because it was one, how I found it. It was like very interesting how it was described. So I'm gonna go ahead and, because normally I don't do this, but I want to make sure I get the actual correct presentation of this. All right. Okay. So here we have it. I'm gonna put this on here because I don't want to have all this little noise in the back of my ear, which it's trying to do. All right, that's about to make some noise. I'm gonna mute that because you ain't even gonna try it today. I don't have the energy. Let's see. Hang on, y'all. We almost there. Where'd it go? Oh, there you go. I was like, wait, I just found the story, and then y'all not gonna give it to me? That would let me be great. All right. So here we have it. I'm gonna read the ESPN article as well, but I'm gonna kind of break this down so we can get how the catch process works. The new rules defining the catch include: 1. Control of the ball. 2. 2 feet down or another body part. 3. A third step. My bad. 3. A football move such as 3A, a third step. 3B, reaching or extending for the line to gain. Or 3C, or the ability to perform such an act. The key change to the rule eliminated the going to the ground element of the previous rule. The NFL hopes the new rule will eradicate some of the frustration fans, coaches, and players had with apparent catches like Cowboys receiver Dez Bryant's against Green Bay in the 2014 playoffs, or Steelers tight end Jesse James' reverse touchdown against the Patriots this past season being deemed incomplete. The rule change won't remove all the gray areas in the rule, nor nullify all confusion. Most also expect the new definition to result in an uptick in fumbles. However, it is a significant step in clarifying a rule that confounded everyone involved in the NFL for years. So I have this story in the show notes as well, because I don't want to read this A to Z. But what I will do is I'm going to break, because there were some other news or some other rules that were changed that I'm going to go ahead and break down real quick. So we have, please don't, okay, cool. I'm like, don't start making noise. All right. So these are the rules and the approved rules and bylaws. The below playing rules and bylaw proposals were adopted by NFL clubs this morning. Approved 2008 playing rules summary by a competition committee makes permanent the playing rule that changes the spot of the next snap after a touchback resulting from a free kick to the 25-yard line. By a competition committee changes standard for a catch. By a competition committee authorizes the designated member of the officiating department to instruct on-field game officials to disqualify a player for a flagrant non-football act when a foul for that act is called on the field. All right. By a competition committee. All right, this is kind of weird. Permit clubs to trade players from. Okay. By a competition committee makes permanent liberalization for rules of timing, testing, and administering physical examinations to draft eligible players at a club's facility. And then by Buffalo for a year, liberalized rule for reacquisition of player assigned via waivers. And with Denver, they have an article stating to permit clubs to trade players from reserve or injured. And with Minnesota, to replace the 10-day postseason claiming period within a 24-hour period. The catch rule proposed by the league's competition committee at the behest of Commissioner Roger Goodell will eliminate the requirement to maintain control of the ball throughout the process of going to the ground. Instead, it will define a catch with a simpler 3-step process. A receiver must control the ball, establish himself in bounds, and perform a football move such as taking a third step or lunging with the ball in hand. Most important to the league, the change means that plays such as those involving Detroit Lions wide receiver Calvin Johnson and Dallas Cowboys wide receiver Dez Bryant will in the future be ruled catches. We basically rewritten the rule. Even so, the change is not likely to eliminate all controversies surrounding the catch. Former NFL officiating chief Dean Blandino suggested earlier this month to expect a swap of debates. If the receiver performs an act common to the game, if he performs a football move, whatever you want to call it, on the way to the ground, if you say that supersedes him having to hold the ball all the way to the ground, then that adds another layer of judgment for the official and in replay. You're just shifting the debate from was he going to the ground and did he hold on to it due to did he make a football move? Football move is a very broad term. I'm going to go over that briefly in a moment. The rule to allow in-game ejections from league's officiating office was designed to address egregious hits last season by Patriots tight end Rob Gronk and Tampa Bay's wideout Mike Evans. Both were penalized 15 yards, but referees declined to eject them. Referees will retain the authority to eject players as necessary. The Jets, meanwhile, withdrew a proposal to make all defensive pass interference penalties 15 yards. All right. A lot of information here to share with my listeners. I told you all this, and I really didn't prepare how this will go, but I figured this is gonna be like a meaty podcast to a extent. Pause. But we're now so the rules as far as with the officiating and ejecting players, whatever. Take that how you want to take it. Just gonna take it like it is. The catch and the play and how reception is going to be broken down is going to be very heavy for teams. Someone brought this to my attention, and I'm going to just kind of throw this out there because it's not being factored in. This is going to make defensive, or rather offense, actually, you know what? This is going to make offensive coordinators or defensive coordinators play the game a lot differently when it comes to how to play a defender, or how to play a wideout. Because wide receivers are going to have to learn how to catch differently. Defenders are going to be thinking more along the lines, if I hit you, I'm going to hit you before you make your move, because then that could lead to you possibly fumbling the ball, or obviously it being an incomplete pass. So those things are going to be something to look into and consider with what's coming with this new rule. The rule will never be 100% right. Football, basketball, baseball, soccer, hockey, lacrosse, tennis, any event, you're never going to see a perfect game refereed or called. If you do, take a picture, send it to me, let me know, because it's a very hard thing to do. And I only say that the way I do because I think it's tough because there's so much pressure. If you look, okay, look at it like this. When a person is watching it at home, they're watching it in slow motion. So they're getting the story, but they're not getting fully A to Z what happened. They're kind of getting an interpretation of what they feel happened. And they have to kind of make their best decision based on what's being seen. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's challenging. Because even with going back and them looking at it, the person who's under that hood or putting on those headphones and listening for plays on the NBA court or whatever, they're going to see what they see, but it's still their decision. Now, the only flip side to it, I know in the NBA, a lot of times there can be an overriding process, but it's not like, I can't even think of the guy's name. It's not like Marv Albert or Reggie Miller, if they're doing a game, an NBA game, they can override what the referee calls on the floor. You know what I'm saying? Like, because they're an analyst. Their role is an analyst. They're not referees. They're just going on. They're going to be looking at the same replays that he or she is looking at in the booth or on, at that screen. So it's a step. You can't really say whether it's in the right or wrong direction. All you can really look at and kind of call it for what it is it's a step. So let's enjoy it and embrace it, because there's not many times that we can, I won't say that we can't give the NFL a pardon, but it's like, just give them a break. Like, you can't, as much as people want it and would love to see it happen, you'll never see the perfect game called. If you do, let me know. Gonna move on with that one. Markelle Fultz was, and this story could not have broken at a better time, because it's a 2-part story from Saturday to yesterday, how quick it all changed. So Saturday, the story came out, Markelle Fultz would have to tell Sixers that he's ready to return. So they put a story in. I'll read this. I'm kind of going to whisk through it, so if I'm a little rushy in what I'm saying, just forgive me, it's not intentional. If Markelle Fultz is going to return to the Philadelphia 76ers this season, he will have to let them know when he's ready to play. Prior to Saturday's game against the Timberwolves, Brett Brown provided an update on Fultz's status. He stated it's just something that when Markelle Fultz feels like he can go, he really feels good about himself and his health, the shoulder, everything, and the medical people support that. He knows he has a coaching staff and a team that will welcome him when he says go. He also understands the season is around the corner. He also understands the season around the corner in terms of the end of the regular season. That's where it's at. The 76ers traded up to get Fultz. He only appeared in 4 games, averaging 6 points. His last appearance was on October 23rd. He was shut down after that game due to a shoulder injury that required cortisone shots due to pain and inflammation. Philadelphia entered play Sunday with the 4th best record in the Eastern Conference. Oddly enough, they have clinched a playoff spot. And I was going to talk about that now, but I guess I can do that next week, because we'll kind of get into like locking seeds and by then kind of see who needs to fight for a spot and who will be going home, because we haven't forgotten about folks going home. So 68 games, Markelle Fultz hasn't played. They decided to let him play yesterday against Denver. It was a good game for him to be a test, and I will admit something. I usually don't watch a lot of games just because sometimes I'd rather get this. If you get a highlight base of it, you kind of get an idea what happened, but you also can, I don't know, it's like you can give your criticism but be cordial in your criticism. Like, I know for me, the Kentucky game, I was watching that when it got down to the wire. Like, the last couple of minutes of that game, I was locked in, and I'm just like, Kentucky deserved to lose. The Duke Kansas game I missed, unfortunately, which I was kind of upset about, but such is life. turning back to Fultz, I watched him play yesterday. Now, for backstory, disclaimer, whatever you want to put it, Ben Simmons is the starting point guard. Bottom line, call it what you want to see it as. It's going to be the reality. You cannot put Ben Simmons as a small forward. You obviously cannot make him a shooter. You can put him on a block, but he's really not block based because he doesn't have an inside presence. He's mainly the floor general for the first unit. Markelle Fultz came in the second quarter. I want to say late first quarter because they kind of brought in a quartet. Usually if they bring in the full five, as most people know, it's called a posse, where they just bring the whole team. And no, that's not gangster related. It's just general basketball talk. But he came in, I think he took one shot and it fell short. What was noticeable about the game, however, is that he does not have that unorthodox, uncomfortable looking form anymore. He actually looks like he's comfortable shooting again. I still stand behind what I said a couple of weeks ago as far as it's going to come down to him being comfortable with himself and with the game. Those two tangents or those two variables have to come align or whatever in order for it to work. If it doesn't, you're going to be back at square one, and trusting the process is going to be a waste of time. Just telling you my honest opinion. I like how he played. Like he had to get into the groove of the game. Like, you have to remember, he hasn't played a game in 68 games. He hasn't played 68 games straight. You're practicing with teammates and you're working on jump shooting like at Philadelphia or whatever. But even on away games they had him out just shooting around, but they didn't have him playing. It's not the same as you actually playing against a team and a team giving you a body shot or just bumping you or whatever the case may be. He got through that. He played his game. I think he got a pass. I think Embiid got the ball, passed it back to him, and he had a chance to just drive to the basket. Everybody was waiting for him to jump out of the gym and dunk it. But it was better for him to just get the layup just to get that first basket. It's an odd definition of basketball virginity, but that's how you got to look at it. Getting your first shot to go in the basket feels like a dream come true. But he did score. He scored 10 points and he had 8 assists. And he played less than 15 minutes. He came in 3 minutes. He came in with 3 minutes remaining in the first quarter, or a little under 3 minutes. Got a standing ovation. He had a lot of excitement. There were a lot of nerves. You could see it. I'm not going to, like I said, they have an article that kind of breaks it down and talks about everything. I'm going to say this, though, before I go into the next topic. They have to stop bringing up the injury and putting him in a position to talk about it. And here's why. As a person or as a player, the worst thing you want to have is have something be reminisced or reminded to you over and over again. If you got in trouble 10 years ago, and here it is 10 years later, and you're bringing that same story up to someone, or to that person who's trying to move forward, it doesn't make the moving forward process easier to talk about it. He's dealt with the injury. He's gotten the surgery. He got it, cleaned out. He's shooting. He's getting back to playing like Markelle Fultz. You have to, and this is something that I think fans, let alone sports, everyday people should think of. When he was at Washington, he didn't have a good jumper. Just calling it like it is. He was mainly looked at as a top pick, period, because he was the best player in that draft class that you could kind of see from who they played for, things of that sort. They do this every year. It's gonna come up. If you were to redraft a class, how would you draft players? My personal opinion, I don't feel like Like, I feel like Markelle Fultz and Lonzo Ball were way too high to be drafted where they were. The only reason that Lonzo was picked as high as he was because his dad wanted him to go to LA. Just calling it like it is. And that kind of ties into a couple of, like I said, my next set of topics to jump into. But I'm saying that just to say it as Markelle will be fine, and he's getting the time that he needs to play, because if he has bad games, I mean, they've already secured a playoff spot, so it's not like it's a huge impact on the team or the franchise if he doesn't play. Now we just have to look at it as letting him play, but also letting him get comfortable with playing, because that's as easy as it can seem. It's not going to be easy. And as a fan or as a general know-how, I wouldn't want it to be easy for me if I'm just coming back into the game. Like, I want somebody like a Jamal Murray or a Chris Paul to play against me to kind of get me in the groove of playing basketball. So like I said, a week from now, if we have a couple more games, we get some more stats, we can kind of see and measure where he is in his basketball game and just in his IQ and things of that sort. Because his IQ is his basketball, and I'm the basketball IQ stickler. Anyone who knows me has played with me. They see it. I can't run worth a lick, but I can pick up on things on court, off court that a lot of people don't pay attention to, because it's how I was brought up to watch and keep up with basketball. Now we'll get into life after LaMelo at Chino Hills. Plain and simple, Chino Hills was able to win the California Interscholastic Federation Division I state title last Friday. They beat Las Lomas 73-68, and they did so without LaMelo Ball. And I think it was an interesting story because, and I'll read the story and then we'll get into it. The team star player, Onyeka Okongwu, scored 27 points and added 14 rebounds and 5 blocks in the win, though he fouled out with just under 4 minutes remaining. I think the team showed they were more than one individual player. This is probably going to prepare for some shade trees to be thrown. That one probably wasn't a shade because he's just looking at it as, with Okongwu, that's kind of like been their go-to guy. This is the head coach speaking. Our big guy went out, but the team stayed united. That's what teamwork is all about. And they went and got it done. It was the program's second state title in the past 3 years. Because as you know, they lost last year and they won the year before when Lonzo was there. So it's just ironic that it all happened. But they did win the championship. The big story about it, obviously, was LaMelo was not on the team. And it's kind of their way of saying, hey, we've moved on from LaMelo. We're just trying to play basketball like anybody else. So I'm sharing that story to share. And this story literally just broke today. And I don't understand. I understand why, but I don't understand why. Because I feel like it's some things that make sense but don't make sense. LiAngelo Ball, who is the middle brother, if you all remember, he was involved in the shoplifting incident when he played for UCLA. And when they made the announcement that they were suspended indefinitely, which then turned into the remainder of the season, he kind of got a little... Well, he didn't get upset, but his father got upset and decided to send him off to Lithuania. But LiAngelo Ball has declared for the 2018 NBA draft. LiAngelo Ball declared for the 2018 NBA draft on Tuesday, according to Ball's agent, Harrison Gaines. They noted, Sharania noted that Ball has already submitted early entry paperwork with the NBA. After leaving UCLA in December, Ball played alongside his younger brother LaMelo for Vaidotas Prienų this season in the Lithuanian Basketball League. After UCLA suspended him because of a shoplifting incident in China, Ball signed with the team in January. His stay in Lithuania has been productive, as Ball is averaging a league-leading 15 points per game while shooting 45% from beyond the arc, according to the spokesman. The 19-year-old Ball reportedly plans to take part in May's Pro Basketball Combine and IMG Academy in Bradenton, Florida, in an effort to impress NBA talent evaluators. The 6'5" Ball was rated as a 3-star prospect coming out of high school, and he was ranked as the number 226 overall player and number 50 shooting guard in the 2017 class. Ball will look to follow NBA footsteps of his brother Lonzo Ball, who plays for the Lakers. In December, ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski reported LiAngelo had no chance at being selected in the 2018 NBA draft. Okay. I just want to be clear and transparent of what I'm about to ask, because this is where I have to be me as a podcaster, but also talk generally about this, because I'm not getting it. You went overseas to play ball. You played a couple of games. You've had some good runs here and there. That's your 1 year out of school, so you're good. But you're basing that little bit of weeks or time, and I'm sounding like I'm stuttering and losing it saying this, but I'm being honest, trying to figure this out. In a couple of weeks of you playing in Lithuania, you feel like you're ready to go to the NBA. Coming out of, from playing in high school and, playing, I guess, a few games with UCLA, you're ready to go to the NBA. This probably will sound crazy, but I could see the other guy that left from Kansas that went overseas. I could see him going to the NBA quicker than him. I'm wanting to say, I don't know why I want to say Billy Donovan, but I don't think that's his name. Let's see. I can't think of his name. I'm so slow. Billy Preston. Billy Preston, and if you think about it, it's kind of already obvious that he's going over anyway, but Billy Preston was supposed to be like the big factor of going overseas to play, and I'm assuming he's gonna go pro, but the announcement hasn't been officially made yet. And before I continue, because I always have to remember, do not get Billy Preston, the basketball player, confused with Billy Preston, the singer, because they are two different people. But right now, I don't see LiAngelo being a very high pick. I don't know if he will even be drafted. I said this in my sports group. Shout out to Space to Sport. Y'all know I usually don't post a whole lot, but when I do, I come with it. And this one was no exception. I legit said to them, I was like, he will be in the G League in no time. I can sense it. But that's me just being me. It's not me like bad mouthing or wishing like bad on him. It's just some players in some moments you kind of can like just put two and two together and figure it out. And this one is kind of like a no-brainer. I don't know what's gonna happen. Like he might surprise me and actually could get drafted early. And also it could be what he does at the combine, because he could go to combine and actually have a good combine run that could get somebody's attention to say, you know what, we need him on our team. So I'll account those things in as well. So I guess this is, I don't know if this is an announcement, because this is actually this story also broke today, and will give it the attention for the sake of the show, because I don't know how it will affect our future podcast. So this is going to be sports, but it's going to be more so stuff. So this is kind of like that, as I always tell y'all, to segue between shows. If you are still wanting sports, like I said, stay around. This is kind of a little bit of a sports story, but we're starting to kind of blend into the stuff. But if you are here for the stuff, welcome aboard. And we'll go ahead and get into this story. Bleacher Report has officially, I don't know if I want to say they're competing with YouTube, but they're doing something similar to what YouTube is doing. Bleacher Report is proud to announce the launch of a brand new live sports streaming service known as BR Live. BR Live will allow fans to find and watch their favorite sports content. Don't play. Sports content anywhere, anytime, and on the screen of their choice. Thousands of live sporting events will be available through the BR Live streaming service, making it a central hub for passionate fans to find and consume content most meaningful to them. Turner Sports also announced BR will distribute an updated NBA League Pass, single games, and League Pass's upcoming full new offering, which will include the ability to watch partial games at a reduced price, beginning with the 2018-19 regular season. That will mean access to nearly 1,000 live out-of-market NBA games through the new platform. The distribution of content continues to evolve, and Turner has invested in creating and delivering premium multi-platform experiences, including our soon-to-be Bleacher Report live sports streaming service. This is from David Levy, who is the president of Turner. Our long-standing partnership with the NBA has been led by a shared vision to provide fans with the most engaging experiences that match a wide variety of viewing preferences. This is a game-changing initiative to provide fans with personalized access to premium NBA content. From games on TNT and NBA TV, or the volume of out-of-market games through NBA League Pass, to the defining moments of a thrilling matchup with a compelling story arc, we'll have it covered. This offering is a new and exciting way for fans to experience live NBA action. And this is from Adam Silver. Turner Sports shares our commitment to innovation and to making our games even more accessible. Bleacher Report Live is absolutely free to everyone on a trial basis until June. And this month it will begin by featuring live content from the Spring League, the World Arm Wrestling League, and more. Because watching live sports should be easy. For more real-time updates, follow Bleacher Report Live on Twitter. And I did happen to go to the Bleacher Report page, or the Bleacher Report Live page itself. And I just looked at what they have available, and they got quite a bit. I mean, they already, as mentioned, they had a Spring League. They'll be doing UEFA Champions League, UEFA Europa League. We're looking at Global Ballycross, Professional Golf. So there's quite a bit that's coming with this, and I'm probably going to be that guy because I don't care, but I'm going to go ahead and see what they're about as far as the what they're offering, because it could be a good thing. You never know how something does or doesn't work until it actually happens, and then you're like, oh, okay, this shouldn't be too bad. But I feel like it's a step in the right direction. As all, I say that constantly, but in this case, it's definitely something that's new and innovative. So I'm all for it. Continuing with more stuff, because we have a lot that I don't want to leave things off, but I also want to make sure I don't miss where we are, because there were quite a few stories that broke. Today was Apple presenting their education option as far as tech and products that are coming. And one of the new techs that are coming, it was basically like I guess you can call it was like an Apple iPad keynote. And Apple has a less powerful iPad Mini 4, which is going to be $70 more expensive than the new iPad. It has an A8 chip, no stylus support, and it has a smaller display. So Apple refreshed its iPad lineup with a new 9.7 iPad with pencil support that comes with a student-focused $30 discount. The device is designed to replace last year's $329 base model iPad, and it sells for that same price to regular consumers. Apple's race to beat Google in the classroom is a good thing for everyone, resulting in cheaper price points and more options. However, one product category that still remains stubbornly affordable in Apple's new education and accessibility focused iPad roadmap is the iPad Mini 4, which obviously I own because that's all I needed and I'm good. This is kind of a segue from the story. I currently have the iPad Mini 4 128 gig. My option in choosing that was based on storage, but also app wise and for what I'm using. Because I mean, most of the time, if I'm going somewhere and I just want to type something up real quick and I don't want to take my laptop, I can do it on here, no problem. So I didn't need a lot of times you look at it as, oh, I need like a humongous tablet to do everything. And it's like, no, this tablet does just what I need. You would kind of almost look at it and say, well, it's not the big size and it's not the screen of like your Pro or your the bigger iPads. But for what I'm doing and for where it works, as the saying goes, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I mean, I think but before this, I had the iPad 2. And I liked the 2. But I like the Mini strictly for the portability factor. Like, if I go somewhere, usually there was a point when I would carry the keypad, the Bluetooth keyboard, the stand to hold the tablet, and the tablet. And that was it. And that's pretty much like me carrying a computer. The company's web store was updated this morning, and the 7.9-inch iPad Mini, which came out back in September of 2015, is still being sold for a mind-boggling $399. Granted, you can get it at Best Buy for $300 as of today. The device comes only with an A8 chip compared with the much more powerful A10 Fusion in the $329 iPad with pencil support that came out today. Not only that, but you are also getting a smaller display that doesn't support Apple Stylus or the new cheaper Logitech Crayon stylus announced at the iPad event this morning. Apple has been known in the past to keep devices around long past their obvious utility to consumers and advantage over similarly priced but superior products. Take, for instance, the $999 MacBook Air that has been obviated by the new standard MacBook and simply priced MacBook Pro or the $499 Mac Mini that hasn't been updated since 2014. The fact is that Apple likely doesn't want to keep updating the iPad Mini 4, but the company might have the hard data to suggest it sells a modest enough amount of units to warrant keeping it from discontinuation. I'm not going to really read the story too much longer because I'm going to bring up something that's very random and weird to me because I thought about this earlier today. I think about this from time to time because I have the iPad Mini 4. The Mini 4 has the latest OS. Great, cool, no problem. A couple of years ago, I bought the iPod 5th generation. Now, anyone who does or does not know, the iPod Touch, they stopped the OS updates on the 5th generation. If you had the 6th generation, you're good. I also believe, and I would have to look it up to make sure, but I believe the 6th generation does have iPod Touch. It's not iPod Touch. It has the fingerprint. So if the fingerprint is going to be a factor behind whether you're keeping or not keeping that device updated, it kind of makes sense. But it also is like weird because the iPod can do what is there like. And I had someone who mentioned this to me. This was probably about 2 or 3 years ago, that the iPod was eventually going to be discontinued. But when I initially interpreted it, I was thinking, okay, they'll just get rid of the iPod Classic, no problem, no big deal. But in hindsight, the Classic is gone, and now we still have the Touch, but not many people really. You're not going to see anyone using the Touch, which is, I mean, you kind of just have to kind of go with it for what it is. So I'm just saying that because I look at it as the iPad Mini 4 is an older model, but it still does what a person who uses an iPad needs it to do. And it's probably on the back of this because I always check these there so often because it's something that is not really thought of very often. Okay, so it just shows the FCC model. It doesn't show the actual year it came out. I'd have to look that up. 8/15/38. Okay, I'm gonna check it real quick because I believe, yeah, if it's this particular model, like I said, it came out in 2015. Let me see something really quick as I open like 50 tabs from Chrome. And it's weird. As much as I use Apple devices, I still use Chrome in my browser. Don't ask. I've thought about it from time to time of switching, but I actually don't have a reason to switch to Safari yet. Safari I use Safari very selectively, and I think part of why I'm more more Chrome oriented is because if I open something up on my and browse it on my computer and save it as a favorite or whatever, it automatically just syncs over to another device with no problem. I know a lot of people probably like, well, you can do that with your device now, but I mean with Safari, but I've never really used Safari enough to really know. All right. I thought I had the right one. Okay. It's not bad. My bad, y'all. I know normally I'm ready. All right. Okay, so 1584. So yeah, that's the Pro. So the Pro, I didn't even know that. The Pro came out in 2015 as well. It seems like, for whatever reason, I would have sworn that they've been out longer. But yeah, the Mini 4 came out late 2015. So yeah, 1538. And, 7.9. Like, a 7.9 inch screen is more than enough. Like, you can, and I like I said, the reason I'm more mini based is because of the portability. Now, the difference that what the Pro has that I feel like the others missed out on is storage. Because you are going to get 256 gigs, which is not bad at all. Because the newer one, it should be on here because they just dropped it. Is the Pro. Where's the Pro? Okay, Pro. So yeah, Pro came out last year. The second generation of the Pro. But anyway, yeah, I just want to talk about that as far as where tech is going. I know there's like a super random minutia spin-off, like a lot going on, but it did kind of cross my page, so I wanted to at least, I heard people talk about it, but it wasn't like getting that much attention, so I went ahead and gave that a whirl. We have hit a tough time in the community of childhood and life, and I'm gonna be probably one of the few people that will say this, and this is not in a negative annotation in any way, shape, or form. It's legitimately going by sheer observation. This situation, the incident, well, not the incident, but what happened with Toys R Us likely led to this, in my opinion. So if any of you had read or listened to the podcast last week, we did talk about Toys R Us as far as there was initial talk of bankruptcy, then there was discussion that the stores will be closing. Well, Charles Lazarus, who founded Toys R Us, died Thursday of last week after the company was forced to shut down. He no longer had a stake in the chain. He started the company in 1948 when he was 25, anticipating that the post-war baby boom would create demand for baby supplies and toys. He remained CEO until 1994. He was the father of the toy business. Who succeeded him, and this was from Michael Goldstein, who succeeded him. He knew the toys he loved. He knew the toys and loved the toys and loved the kids who would shop in the stores. His face lit up when he watched kids playing with toys. His death was confirmed by the company. There have been many sad moments with Toys R Us in recent weeks, and none more heartbreaking than today about the passing of our beloved founder. He visited us in New Jersey just last year, and we will forever be grateful for his positive energy, passion for the customer, and love for children everywhere. Our thoughts and prayers are with Charles's family and loved one. He started selling baby furniture in a store called Children's Bargain Town in Washington, D.C., but he quickly expanded to selling toys. In 1957, Lazarus opened his first store stocked only with toys. It was modeled after a supermarket with a wide assortment of items stocked high on shelves. He named it Toys R Us with a backwards R in the logo that was supposed to look like it was drawn by a kid. Its iconic giraffe mascot started as part of advertisements for Children's Bargain Town. Its name was changed from Jeffrey in 1965 and soon became the center of its marketing campaign. The company went public in 1978 and thrived in the years that followed, growing from $1 billion in the early 90s to a whopping $11 billion business. But the company faced growing competition from big box retailers such as Walmart and Target as it encountered other challenges. Its debt was downgraded to junk bond status in January of 2005. A year later, the company was sold for $6.6 billion to a group of private equity firms, KKR, Bain Capital, and Real Estate from Vornado. The deal left it saddened with the $5.3 billion in debt, and it never really recovered from that. All right. So I'm sharing the story mainly because it is like just a part of childhood kind of being taken away, but it's also a confirmation of reality. And I don't want to use them as an example, but I have to for the sake of the truth. This was the same thing that happened in Circuit City. Now, Circuit City, I don't know if the owner, I'm not saying that the owner passed or anything like that, but I'm just saying Circuit City was trying to do it Circuit City's way. But you had companies, Walmart, Target, Best Buy, other businesses that were doing it the way of the times. Toys R Us was toy oriented, but kids aren't toy oriented now. Toys are like, for instance, for adults, Funko Pops are collector's items. To kid, like when you were younger, like for our generation, like my generation, 35, in the 30s, it's, if you bought something with the intent of like playing with it, you were going to play with it until it pretty much fell apart. Kids now are so destructive and so bored that the minute they buy a product that is supposed to last for a period of time, they're already bored and over it and they want something else. And parents can't buy those something else's all the time, so that's where toys kind of disappeared. Videos came into play. Video games came into play, but kids still were bored. So then it turned into tablets. Like kids now, you give a child a tablet, the world doesn't exist. Because they find as long as a kid has a tablet and Wi-Fi, they're fine. That's why a lot of parents were just coming out better. Like, and it's something you almost got to look at. If you're buying a tablet that only has Wi-Fi, like going back to the iPad story, buying a tablet strictly with Wi-Fi is a gift. It's a gift and a curse. It's a gift because if you have enough videos or enough things to do on that tablet, you're good. But it's a curse because if they only are able to access it through Wi-Fi, then they need data somewhere, let alone if the parent is put in a position of, you know what, let me go ahead and put a data plan on this device. And that's kind of where we get to, how we get to where we are now. So you have that transition, and because of that, toys aren't as in existence anymore. That's why and I even surprised somebody even at my age, like somebody looked at me and was surprised that I had a fidget cube. I was like, this is so I can get through certain things, because if I don't, I will lose it. So it's what works for what moment, you know what I mean? So that's just how you have to kind of look at it. Me and making noise, man, I swear. Um, the next story, it's considered as a blow, but it's not considered as a blow. And I'm gonna kind of chew into this one as I'm like doing 1,001 things. So there was a major fighting game tournament that is going to be finished and they're no longer going to be competing, and the name of it is Final Round. It is based in Atlanta. Now I'm gonna read the story because I'm giving like parts of the story, but I want to make sure I give everything and then kind of go over it with you all. Oh, and before I continue, more stories will start to erupt from different sources other than my normal sources, such as The Verge, Bleacher Report, ESPN. I want to expand on where I get news from, because a lot of times I know people are like, you go into the same source to get stories. I mean, granted, other sites are going to get their stories through the routers and things of that nature, but I wanted to present that to you all, or routers, however you want to pronounce it. In a lengthy announcement, Final Round tournament organizer Larry Shinblanca Dixon revealed that the flagship event series will come to an end. After 2 decades, the fighting game community has lost one of its most prominent competitive arenas. When Dixon took to Facebook after wrapping up the 20th installment of Final Round this past weekend, the usual thanks were packaged with unfortunate news. The stresses of keeping up with the demands from the community and a continued decrease in attendance, he said, have made keeping the event series alive more trouble than it's worth. The joy of organizing events has been sucked out of my body these past 2 years, Dixon explained. I've always known it was a thankless job, but now it was worse because of the constant double standard I see throughout the fighting game community. I can't and won't continue to waste money, or most important, my time, on a group that doesn't want me part of it anymore. Like most fighting game events, Final Round's numbers spiked with the release of Street Fighter V in 2016, and the event infrastructure wasn't quite ready to deal with the increased attendance. Dixon called consistent complaints of overcrowding and poor scheduling a social media witch hunt in yesterday's announcement. The years since have seen a steady decrease of support, despite Final Round's expansion to larger venues, the addition of a 24-hour bring-your-own console space, and the institution of a clear bag policy to curb left. Due to its prime slot clearly in the calendar year, Final Round typically signifies the beginning of the competitive season, and developers like Capcom and Bandai Namco have recently used the Atlanta-based tournament as the jumping-off point for their Street Fighter V and Tekken 7 circuits, giving it increased attention from players looking to qualify for end-of-year finales. Over the last few years, Dixon suddenly found himself at the head of one of the fighting game community's most impressive events, apparently at the expense of his personal life. What makes me upset is I never quit on the fighting game community, even though I should have when my mom passed away 2 days before the event. This was 5 years ago when for Final Round 15. I thought, since I sacrificed my morning right after she died, that the fighting game community would never turn on me. Obviously, I was wrong, and that was stupid of me to think in that manner. I understand now that Final Round was dead after Final Round 19, and I was holding on for 2 years trying to breathe life into a dead body. In its 20 years, Final Round has been home to some of the most exciting fighting game matches ever. Those including the stunning Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 victory by Japanese competition Kusuro in 2012, the 27 confrontation between Street Fighter V rivals K-Brad and Wolfcrone, and last weekend's monumental Go 1 vs. Sonic Fox exhibition in Dragon Ball FighterZ. But it's painfully obvious that this has been a long time coming for Dixon, who feels left behind by a community shifting from the grassroots to big-time esports and his venerated tournament series. He plans to finish out his obligations as co-founder of the Fall Classic later this year before retiring completely. This year has been the best. This year was the best final round I've ever been a part of, and I think everyone that was there for this weekend, Dixon closed. I truly appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. I never wanted to be a problem in the growth of the fighting game community. If that means for me to stop so true progress can happen, then I'll gladly do so. Never say never, but I'm chucking the deuces at the Fall Classic. Later, guys and girls, it's been real. This is what you call the burnout. This is the burnout, and it was also not acknowledging, like, and this is key. When you don't grieve over certain things, it can catch up to you. And his mother passing 5 years ago, he didn't grieve at that time. And I know this is, we're supposed to be breaking this down based on the final round event, and I'm going to get into that because there's something that you have to understand, and I might stand up for this because this is kind of going to be a little close to me. When you have someone close to you die, if you don't take time to like get through that healing process of losing someone, it makes everything after that tougher to deal with an encounter. 100% understand that. No knock against it whatsoever. What then becomes the issue is you're still trying to push through what you're doing. And he's basically trying to push through doing an event for ungrateful people. Now we're going to go away from a major event like Final Round, and I'm going to talk local. Here we do like RVA gaming, and we just like, that's become like my new kind of my go-to for like sanity and just something to do and an opportunity to be around good people. But also the Forge, there's a venue here in Richmond called the Forge. I love the Forge. I feel like the Forge doesn't get enough credit or enough attention because of it's the Forge. It's not Combo Breaker. It's not Evo. It's not any of these major spots. But if an event were to happen there, if they were able to get a tournament event there and, had a housing and spacing to do it, that would be a huge deal for them. I'm going to turn it away from video games and kind of put it in the pool. And this will explain it even more clear. There are two venues that host pool events. I'm not going to put any names just for the sake of what I'm about to say. There's one venue that's in a nice area. They have, tournaments and, well, not tournaments, but they have little, processes and rules and things of that nature to have people come in and not be, enjoy pool and stuff like that. The other venue has professional pool players there all the time. They host tournaments. They're on Facebook Live, things of that nature. And basically, they're the more comfortable and the more friendly of the two because despite its size, it's a place where you can just kind of come, break out your pool cue, chill for a little bit, and go home. I compare it to that scenario because this event with Final Round, from what I'm understanding or from what I'm reading, was not expected to become this big of an event, but it did. And once it became big, it became bigger than the person who was handling it and managing it. But on top of that, when a person is doing an event, and I'm even going to break this down. I'm even going to look at it from my own perspective because I had to do this one year. This was like when I was a kid, and I might have told this story. Hosting a video game tournament, period, is not easy. Especially if you don't have little things to make the tournament flow. Tournament officials, people to manage the brackets. You like having those things, or consoles. If I knew then what I know now, like if I knew now what I knew then, if I knew then what I know now, I would have had, because I was doing an NBA Jam tournament, I would have had 5 consoles. That way more people could play. And then once you get down to your final couple of games, then you have it on the main system and y'all just go at it. Now, of course, that means that would require money. And also I was a kid. So it's a little different in that regard. it is tough when you're trying to do something not only just to appease or satisfy those who are participating or watching, but you also want to make sure that if they leave the event that they can say they had a good time. I feel like people had a good time with these events, but people, with anything, you're gonna have people that are gonna complain, and it affected the person who hosted it. Now it's no telling if he's gonna participate again. He's gonna do the one in fall. What I think he should do, and I'm not. I mean, it ain't like he's asking for my advice, but if I was in that position, I would take a year off. Relax, not think about it. Maybe attend just to participate and just be part of it, but don't actually run it, and then run it the following year or 2 years after that. So, whichever would be more suitable for him. Then that would generate and lead to less stress on him and on his life. Especially losing your mother. Like that makes it even bigger in that regard. So we are at our last day of doing our women spotlight for the month of March. March has been and I didn't really do much talk about International Women's Month in general, but I will come clean and telling you all, I love doing these, and I always enjoy to learn new things about artists who are in the scene. Today's artist spotlight is none other than Jennifer Kate Hudson. Didn't know she was a Virgo. She was born on September the 12th, 1981 in Chicago, Illinois. She sang church choir, graduated from Dunbar Vocational Career Academy in 1999. She was singing on a cruise ship for Disney. She then auditioned for American Idol in 2004. She was a finalist, and it gave her a lot of exposure. And she disappeared from the limelight after she was eliminated. There was controversy regarding her departure, as she was recognized by legions as an outstanding vocalist who could outsing other contestants. In 2005, she was able to get the role of Effie White in the film adaptation of the Broadway musical Dreamgirls. Her scene-stealing performance, including an unforgettable, rapturous rendition of "And I Am Telling You, I'm Not Going," earned the young singer a Golden Globe and an Oscar in the supporting actress categories. May of 2008, she continued her film work, appearing in Sex and the City, playing Louise. That was in a movie, not in a TV series. She was the assistant to Carrie Bradshaw. She then starred in The Secret Life of Bees, along with Queen Latifah, Alicia Keys, and Sophie Okonedo. In September of 2008, she had released her self-titled debut album, which went on to win a Grammy for Best R&B Album. She then experienced tragedy within her family, where her 7-year-old nephew had disappeared. He had went missing shortly after her mother and brother was shot in what appeared to be a double homicide. King eventually was found dead as well. In December of 2008, they arrested William Balfour, who was her brother-in-law, in regards to the killings. He was convicted of the murder of all three and was sentenced to life in prison. She took time off to mourn and heal, made her first public appearance after the loss when she sang the national anthem at Super Bowl 43 in 2009. And in the spring of 2011, she released her sophomore album, I Remember Me, which featured production, songwriting from Alicia Keys, Diane Warren, and R. Kelly. She went on to establish the Julian D. King Toy Drive and Christmas dinner and the Hatch Day charity to honor her nephew. She then became a spokesperson for Weight Watchers and published the book I Got This: How I Changed My Ways and Lost What Weighed Me Down. Started her clothing line and contributed to the soundtrack for Think Like a Man, while continuing to star in film projects as well. She portrayed Winnie Mandela in the biopic named after the South African activist, and was featured in 2012's The Three Stooges. 2013 appeared as a recurring guest. She then appeared as a recurring guest star for the TV series Smash, as well as the big screen musical Black Nativity. She was still continuing with music. She released her latest album, J Hud, in 2014, which had production from Pharrell and Timbaland. She also returned to television the following year, appearing in Empire. The show, co-created by Lee Daniels and Danny Strong, focused on the family behind a successful music business. If any of you may or may not know about Empire. In addition to playing a musical therapist in the series, Hudson performed on its soundtrack. 2015, she started in a famed musical, this time as Shug Avery, in the Broadway revival of The Color Purple. The well-received production won 2016 Tony for Best Revival, and Hudson claimed another Grammy for her contributions to the soundtrack. She then joined NBC's Hairspray Live in 2016, which got strong reviews for her performance as Motormouth Maybelle. And then the following year, in 2017, she was able to become a judge on a popular singing competition show, The Voice. She became engaged to David Otunga in September 2008. If you may or may not know him, he was a wrestler in the WWE. They had a son together the following summer. He was a law school graduate, and as I mentioned, he was a professional wrestler and an actor. In 2017, it was announced that they were ending their 10-year relationship, and additionally, it was revealed that Hudson had requested and received a protective order against her ex-fiance. So she went through her life went through a huge stage of ups and downs. Her main thing was she made it her goal to just continue to strive. And in the media's eyes, I won't say that the media is waiting for you to fail, but sometimes the media is looking for you to drop what you're doing and not get something done. And I think for her, music was her strong suit, but she found other avenues to get her exposure, and she did. And that's why she's one of my underrated artist spotlights, because she didn't do a lot of how you'll talk about an artist or their album history or their discography. You're like, man, they did this album, they did a lot of music. She didn't do a lot of albums, but she was involved in a lot of careers musically or directing or whatever the case may be. Okay, I was like, I heard a sound. I'm sorry. My bad. I zoned. I was like, who at the door? Hello? All right. So we're at a fun and a tough point because we are going into our ass of the week. And this week we have 2 asses of the week and we have a pass of the week. Because normally if stories, there are weeks when people pass and it does happen, but I may not give it that much attention. Even though we did mention the owner from Toys R Us, there was another one, and we'll get into her in a moment. But first, we'll get into our first ass of the week, who was Greg Reynolds. He was former MLB pitcher Greg Reynolds was awarded $2.3 million in his civil case against the man he punched in self-defense in 2016, and the neighbor who was hosting the man, according to John Woolfolk of the Mercury News. Per the report, Reynolds said his pitching hand was never the same after he punched a raving naked man on LSD who attacked him and tried to break into his Half Moon Bay home. Reynolds, 32, played for the Colorado Rockies and Cincinnati Reds in his career, last appearing in the MLB in 2003. He was attempting to work his way back into the leagues in 2016 when his run-in with this naked assaulter, Dominic Pintarelli, took place. Per Woolfolk, Reynolds noticed the naked Pintarelli cussing at bystanders and trying to knock over a mailbox and asked him if he needed help. Pintarelli attempted to break through the door, however, before Reynolds went outside and punched Pinarelli, fracturing his knuckles in the process. I only hit him one time, and it was bad enough to where I knew immediately it was broken. It all happened so quickly, you don't have time to think about it. We were definitely in fear for our lives. Pinarelli was convicted of assault in the incident, but Reynolds claimed his injury to his throwing hand in the ordeal adversely affected and ultimately ended his baseball career. The biggest problem was that I broke my index finger knuckle, the most important finger throwing the ball, he noted. It affected all my pitches. So he earned the money due to being assaulted, but it affected him career-wise because now he's likely not going to be coming back into baseball. He can make a return. At 32, pitchers, and I'm don't hold me to this stat because I know a lot of times it's case by case, but pitchers don't really have the longest careers only because majority of the time they're throwing. You think the average pitcher throws like 90 pitches a game, and you may pitch in a season, you could pitch 20 or 30 games, depending. Or it's all on the basis of if you're starting or if you're a relief pitcher, things of that sort. And it's not often you're going to pitch a complete game. It's very few complete game instances that occur. So to have that injury happen to him, it definitely, it shortened his career, true, but it also had to go through that, and then he got rewarded for it, which is cool. But the guy that punched him, it was literally all in self-defense, and then of all things, LSD was involved. So that's why this was it was an ass of the week, but it was just like a random, how did all this come together? And reading the story, it explains how and what caused it to occur. This story is a shoo-in for ass of the week, and I like it because the source that I got it from put an even funnier comment to make it more humorous. So a teenager crashed into a driving school while taking the test. Just let that happen because it was a teenager and it was a driving school. A teenager taking her driving school sent by her examiner to a teenager taking her driver's school sent her examiner to the hospital when she crashed into the driving school. The 17-year-old was taking her test in Minnesota on Wednesday when she accidentally put the car into drive instead of reverse. Police said the car lurched forward over the curb and into the exam station office. The crash caused significant damage to the car. The driving examiner, a 60-year-old female from Buffalo, Minnesota, had to be taken to the hospital with minor injuries. Officers said the teen was not injured in the collision and no charges are being filed. I like this story because somebody put a comment and said, so did she fail her test or not? And my thing is, there's no, I don't know. I've drove for a while and I've done it a couple times where I'm attempting to back up, and when I back up, I usually don't hit the accelerator if I'm thinking I'm backing up because I don't want to take a chance of hitting somebody. So normally what I'll do is, because you usually want to look and make sure, but in this case, she probably looked and she thought she was back reversing, but she actually hit drive. But the fact that she hit the building is just crazy. That's just unexpected. And then it makes it even more weird that it's in Buffalo, Minnesota. Sorry that y'all gotta hear this dog. I'm sitting here why now? Okay. Man, I had to white noise for a second. But yeah, luckily the injuries were minor. That at least is a good thing. But the fact that you went over the curb and into the exam station office is okay, you're not allowed to drive, honey. No, ma'am. That's just not cool at all. And our final story is, and I don't want to end on a somber note, but we're gonna go ahead and talk about it. I'm gonna briefly address it and kind of go into my thoughts about it. Queen Latifah's mother, Rita Owens, died Wednesday after a long battle with a heart condition. The musician and actress, whose birth name is Dana Owens, revealed the news about her mom in an exclusive statement to People magazine on Wednesday night. It is with a heavy heart that I shared the news. My mother, Rita Owens, passed away on Wednesday. Anyone that has ever met her knows what a bright light she has on this earth. She was gentle but strong, sweet but sassy, worldly but pragmatic, a woman of great faith and certainly the love of my life. Latifah added she had struggled with a heart condition for many years and her battle is now over. I am heartbroken but know she's at peace. Thank you for your kindness, support, and respect for our privacy at this time. Much love, Dana Owens, aka Queen Latifah, forever Rita Owens' daughter. And they give a little bit more information regarding the story. So I wanted to share this story only because this is another like childhood moment, but it's also like just one of those things where it's the circle of life, but it's the hardest part to accept. But like anybody, we should always, make it our goal to be by our family side because we never know when they may or may not be here. You can go through whatever problems you're going through, dislike whoever, go through any issues, life happens. But sometimes you got to also be able to just kind of step back and really look at the big picture. And I think this was just kind of hit close to me because I know, you really don't hear her talk much about her mother, but her mom was a big part of, without you having a mother, you're not brought into the world. And I think we sometimes don't look at it like that, and then of course there's the fact of your step parents, things of that nature. But just her being as strong as she was to go through that says a lot. And if you are able to, send sometimes people don't realize it, like sending a comment or sending like positive words to people, it lets them know that you really do care. It's not like you're being nosy. And I'm gonna make this my closing statement for the night or today. There is nothing wrong with checking on someone and making sure they're okay and just being sure that everything is everything. We all do it. Just make sure you're doing it from the right place. A lot of times we really are checking on people to make sure they're okay because we want to make sure they're getting through whatever it is, personally, emotionally, physically, whatever the case may be. But I'm emphasizing this because I've had to learn this even on my own. Do it from the right place and don't fool others into thinking that you're not don't fool others into thinking that you're genuine when you're not, because it's going to show in the long haul. And that's kind of my message I'm leaving with you all today, as far as with that topic. But overall, not a bad show. Like I said, I knew this one would be a little longer than normal, but there was a lot of information and then a lot of stories broke today that I was like, I need to get these on the show because if I don't, I'll forget. So thank you all for tuning in. If you are on iTunes, I'm emphasizing iTunes heavily. Please subscribe. Past podcasts, I'll be even more lenient because if you go to pastpodcast.com, on the right side of the page, there's an option where it shows how you can subscribe and how you can check out the show. If you can go to iTunes.com and subscribe, I'm all for it. If you want to subscribe via email, I'm all for it. Subscribing via email is even better. That way I know you'll get a notice when I post it on my webpage. But if you even if you don't do it that way and you get it through iTunes, you'll get notifications if you're subscribed to the page. But feedback, comments, everything, it helps. So that's what I want to leave y'all with today. As always, thank you all for tuning in. Next week we will be wrapping up. We will be naming who our champion is for college basketball, and most importantly, we'll be going into the NBA playoffs and kind of getting some more names of folks who are declaring for the draft. So until next time, BT signing out. Pat signing out. Take care. Thanks for tuning in. If you'd like to get any information specifically based on the shows, you can go to Spreaker.com/BriTapePodcast or go to www.passpodcast.com. On both of those options, you do have the information related to what topics were talked about, the timestamps for the episode, as well as the specific links related to that specific story. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time, The Paz signing out.
でもそんなんじゃダメもうそんなんじゃほら心は進化するよもっともっとそんなんじゃダメもうそんなんじゃほら心は進化